So over the past year, the Bilt Mastercard has pretty much exploded in popularity because it can be used to earn points on rent without paying any extra fees that other credit cards normally charge. So now for renters like myself, we're finally able to get some value back as we pay our largest monthly expense, and the value of those points can actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars per year, so that's pretty significant. Now, of course, that all sounds good, but is it too good to be true? Because I got the Bilt Mastercard exactly 1 year ago, and I do think there's more to the story with it based on my own personal experience. So in this video, I just want to give you guys my honest 1 year review to go over not only all the positives that people talk about with this card to hype it up, but also all the negatives and whether this card is insanely powerful or just insanely overrated. Now, I always like to start analyzing a credit card by first looking at the annual fee versus the sign-up bonus. And for the Bilt Mastercard, the good news to a lot of people is that there's going to be no annual fee here, which is honestly pretty cool because I do consider this card to be on the same level as some other premium travel credit cards out there that charge $95 per year. However, the bad news here is that there's no standard sign-up bonus, which is definitely a negative in my opinion because almost every other credit card in today's world comes with a bonus of some kind. Now, I sort of understand why there's no bonus on the Bilt Mastercard because they're obviously not making any money from annual fees, and they're actually losing money by waiving the transaction fees when you pay rent with this credit card. So by allowing customers to earn 1x Bilt point per dollar on rent payments for up to 100,000 Bilt points per calendar year, that's basically the incentive here instead of a sign-up bonus. Now, there also might actually be sort of a secret bonus with the Bilt Mastercard that I'll talk more about later on here. But one other important negative to mention is the fact that if you read the fine print, in order to actually earn Bilt points on this card, you gotta make sure it's being used at least 5 times each statement period. Now, paying rent does count as one of those 5 transactions, so let's say your statement opening date is on January 1st and then the closing date is on January 31st. Maybe you pay rent on January 1st, which would be transaction number 1, but then you've got to remember to use your Bilt Mastercard at least 4 more times before that January 31st closing date. Otherwise, you will not get to keep any of the points you earn from rent or anything else during that statement period. Now, again, I understand why Bilt has this requirement because they basically want to incentivize customers to put other non-rent spend on this card, or otherwise a lot of people would only use it to pay for rent and then nothing else. But luckily though, another positive here for the Bilt Mastercard is that it actually has some pretty good multipliers even outside of rent because it's going to earn 2x points per dollar on travel, 3x points per dollar on dining, and then 1x point per dollar on all other purchases. Now, when I first got this card 1 year ago, I was really curious about whether or not I'd be able to hit those 5 transactions every single month, but I can happily report that I was definitely able to meet that requirement for all 12 months over the last year, so I did get to keep all the points that I earned throughout 2023 with this card. To me, I sort of found 2 main ways that I use to make sure that I'm always hitting the transaction requirement. So with the first way, I would just pay rent at the beginning of the month with my Bilt card, and then after that, I would just use it as my dedicated coffee card because sometimes I do like to go out and work at different coffee shops in my area. I would usually hit those 4 other transactions pretty easily, and then those coffee shops would also code as dining and give me 3x points per dollar on that spending. But eventually I kind of learned that this is a bit risky because if I lose track of things or if I stop going to coffee shops as much, then I might not hit the required transactions for that month. The second way that I found much easier to hit my 5 transactions that now I like to recommend to people is again, just pay rent at the beginning of the month for transaction number 1. But then after that, I just set my Bilt Mastercard as the default payment method for a few subscriptions or other recurring expenses. That way those remaining 4 transactions are just automatic and I don't risk forgetting to use the card. Now, the downside here is that for streaming services that now I pay for with my Bilt card, like Spotify, Netflix, and Audible, those are only gonna earn 1x point on this card under the all other category compared to earning 3x on streaming that I was getting before with my Chase Sapphire Preferred. But luckily the math works out for most people to make this kind of switch because if you're spending, let's say maybe $60 per month on streaming, normally at 3x points per dollar, that would be roughly 180 points per month on a card like the Sapphire Preferred. But if I'm only earning 1x back with a Bilt card, then that would be around 60 points, which means that I'm missing out on around 120 points per month. However, by sacrificing those 120 points on streaming in this example, in my opinion, you're just gonna make your life a whole lot easier to always hit those 5 transactions on the Bilt card each statement period. And then assuming you're paying maybe $2,500 in rent, that's going to allow you to go ahead and lock in earning 2,500 Bilt points per month without worrying about ever missing those transactions. Now, on top of earning 3x on dining, 2x on travel, and 1x on rent and everything else, Bilt has also partnered up with Lyft, where if you link your Bilt and Lyft accounts, you're gonna earn 2x on Lyft ride shares. And then if you actually pay for your Lyft with your Bilt Mastercard, then you'll earn an extra 3x points. So in total, it's basically 5x back on Lyft, which can be really valuable. Now, another small negative that I wanted to quickly mention here as we talk about the points multipliers is that for the travel multiplier here, where you can earn 2x on any travel purchases, what I noticed when I read the terms and conditions is that Bilt is only gonna give you you 2x on travel if a purchase codes as airlines, hotels, motels, resorts, cruise lines, and car rental agencies. And they say that other travel purchases such as buses, trains, ferries, tolls, parking, and other stuff like that will not earn 2x on travel. Now, that's not a huge deal, but a lot of people like to compare the Bilt Mastercard to the Chase Sapphire Preferred because both these cards earn 3x on dining and 2x on travel, but the Sapphire Preferred card definitely earns 2x on way more travel categories than the Bilt card does because Chase just defines travel in a much broader category that includes a lot of expenses that Bilt does not. All right, now next here, I want to talk about one really cool feature that Bilt has called Rent Day, which takes place on the first day of every month. And on Rent Day, there's basically two main ways that you can get some extra value from your Bilt Mastercard. So the first way is through double points, and then the second way is going to be through promotions that Bilt decides to run where you can get things like hotel and airline status, crazy transfer bonuses, and some other cool stuff like that. Now, what a lot of people like to do with their Bilt Mastercard is they just wait until the first day of every month to take advantage of that double points feature. That's basically where you can earn 6x on dining, 4x on travel, and 2x on all other purchases. And this does exclude rent, so you're always only going to earn 1x on rent, but still, for a no annual fee card, getting 4x on travel and 6x on dining is unheard of. So if you can book travel or go out to eat on the first day of every month, then Bilt Rent Day is a crazy good deal to take advantage of with double points. Plus, on top of that, like I said, Bilt is always running these limited time promotions on the first day of the month. So for example, on January 1st, 2024, they were running a special transfer bonus offer where if you transferred Bilt points out to IHG, Flying Blue, or Virgin Atlantic, then you could get a transfer bonus of between 75 and 150% depending on what Bilt status you have. Personally, I'm at Bilt Silver status right now, which meant that I could have transferred with a 100% transfer bonus over to one of his partner programs on January 1st. So for example, if I wanted to fly from Newark to Paris in business class with Air France through their Flying Blue program, normally that would cost $1,988, or I could transfer 55,000 Bilt points and pay only $208 in taxes and fees, and that would be a redemption value of 3.2 cents per point, which isn't too bad. But with the 100% transfer bonus I had access to on that Rent Day promotion that has now expired, I would only have to transfer over 28,000 Bilt points to get the 55,000 Flying Blue miles. So that would be a redemption value of around 6.4 cents per point, which is even better. And I know a lot of people were able to take advantage of deals like this to sort of stretch the value of their Bilt points even further. I was also able to get top tier Hyatt Global status through a Bilt Rent Day promotion last year. And yeah, they're always running these really cool deals, and they've been getting pretty creative with things which makes them sort of stand out even more in the world of credit cards and points and miles because no other credit card out there is running this many different promotions. Now, another offer outside of Rent Day that a lot of people seem to get targeted for right after they get approved for the Bilt Mastercard is where they can earn 5x Bilt points per dollar on all eligible purchases, excluding rent, for 5 days after they receive the card in the mail. And this offer is for up to 50,000 points, so effectively this is sort of an unofficial sign-up bonus. Now, I say unofficial because there's technically no guarantee that you're gonna get this, and there's also no guarantee that Bilt is gonna continue doing this, but it does seem like a lot of people do get targeted for this offer, and honestly, I actually missed this email and had to go back through my inbox to find it for this video. So if you get the Bilt Mastercard and you have some big purchases coming up, then definitely pay attention to your inbox because 5x on everything is really good. But let me know down in the comments below if you have this card and if you got this 5x offer because I wanna get some data points on this. And if you do not have the Bilt Mastercard yet, but you wanna learn more about it, then you can go ahead and check out the link that I have down below. And as always, those links are the best way to support the free content here in this channel, so thank you to anyone that uses them. Now, I mentioned Bilt Status earlier, which leads me to another negative development that was sort of just announced the other week, and that is gonna be the fact that Bilt recently made some changes to the way that you can earn Bilt Status with different tiers they have. So in 2023, I was able to pretty easily hit Silver Status, which is a step up from Blue Status that everyone starts with. That's because I earned over 25,000 Bilt points in one calendar year from the ways that I spend on this card, which is mostly through rent, coffee, and subscriptions, like I said before. But now Bilt greatly increased the amount of points that are required to reach each tier. So now it takes 50,000 Bilt points earned in one calendar year to reach that Silver Status, 125,000 points for Gold, and then 200,000 points for Platinum. They also introduced a way that you can fast track the status by spending $10,000 in a calendar year to get the Silver Status, $25,000 to reach Gold, and then $50,000 to reach Platinum. But that's for non-rent spend only, which is pretty low for me on this card. So because I like to put most of my spend towards sign-up bonuses on other credit cards or even just higher multipliers on other cards, I probably will not have status with Bilt after 2024. Now, the benefits of having status are just okay anyway, and I would say the real power of Bilt Status comes from the Rent Day promotions where higher status levels sort of get preferred treatment and sometimes better transfer bonus rates like I talked about earlier from that Rent Day promotion in January. So overall, I would say the status requirement increases are just a small negative, but in my opinion, it's probably less realistic for most most people to get these higher Bilt statuses going forward. Now, no matter what status you have, luckily all Bilt cardholders have access to the same one-to-one transfer partners, which are basically what makes Bilt Points so valuable. So these transfer partners are going to include airline programs like American, Flying Blue, British Airways, Turkish, Emirates, Virgin, and more, plus hotel programs like Hyatt, Marriott, and IHG. This gives you a ton of great options where you should be able to just save up your points and then find ways to transfer them out to get around 2 to 3 cents per point at a minimum, or even more like I talked about earlier with that 6.4 cent per point example with Flying Blue. And for me and my fiance, in 2024, we're probably gonna earn at least 40,000 Bilt points from our rent and other spending. So at 2 to 3 cents per point, that should be worth between $800 and $1,200, which again is pretty crazy considering that this is value that we're able to capture in just 1 year by having this one no annual fee card. Now, if you wanna see a full video guide with more examples on the best and worst ways to redeem Bilt points, then let me know down in the comment section below as well. And to see that video or any other future content here on my channel, then make sure to go ahead and subscribe because only around 20% of you that watch my videos are actually subscribed, and it is completely free. Now, okay, on top of having all these great spending multipliers and transfer partners, the Bilt Mastercard also comes with a bunch of other really useful benefits that are normally reserved for more premium credit cards. So that's gonna include things like no foreign transaction fees, primary coverage for auto rentals, trip cancellation and interruption insurance, trip delay reimbursement, and then also a cell phone protection benefit of up to $800 against theft and damage after paying a $25 deductible. Now, just make sure you read through any terms and conditions for yourself when it comes to this credit card for any of the benefits here because your eligibility can vary depending on the situation. So I'm gonna leave a link down below to the terms right next to that other link I have that I mentioned before where you can learn more about the Bilt Mastercard. Now, unfortunately, if you actually own your home and your housing payment is a mortgage and not rent, then you're not going to be able to earn Bilt points right now on your mortgage at the moment. But Bilt does say on their website that they are considering offering points on mortgage payments at some point in the future, so we'll see if that actually happens. And also, one more thing here that I wanted to point out is that Bilt does say that rent payments can only be made to one rental property over a 30-day period. So you can't just get this card and then start paying rent for friends and family who live in different places just to rack up some points. Now, to make sure you guys have as much info as possible about this credit card, one more negative that I definitely wanted to mention here based on my own personal experience with the Bilt Mastercard over the past year would be a series of fraudulent transactions that affected me and many other different Bilt card holders. So I want to quickly share my thoughts about this. Now, early in 2023, there was a lot of widespread fraud that started showing up in many customers' Bilt accounts, which led to many people complaining over on Reddit. And my Bilt card was actually affected by this as well. So basically, I saw a few small transactions just pop up in my account that were clearly not made by me. Luckily, Wells Fargo, who issues the Bilt Mastercard, they spotted these fraud charges and just sent me an email and a text and told me to call them. So they took all these transactions off of my credit card statement and then sent me a new card with new numbers. And honestly, they handled it pretty well. So it was just more annoying than anything to go through this whole process. From what I could tell by reading about this online, it seems like the situation was a series of many brute force attacks where scammers basically just run different credit card combinations in a program for these small transactions. They do that until they sort of just guess correctly and a transaction gets approved. And even though a lot of people were really quick to blame Bilt for this, I definitely think this was a problem with the entire credit card industry as a whole because over the past year, my fiance and I have actually had 4 separate cases of fraud with our credit cards, which is way more than we've ever experienced in our entire lives. We had my Amex Business Gold card affected, my Chase Sapphire Preferred, her Chase Sapphire Preferred, and even her Capital One Venture X. So again, I think this is a clear pattern of these hackers and scammers really just increasing their activity, and the credit card issuers are very much aware of all this kind of stuff. And that's why most credit cards out there, like those cards and the Bilt Mastercard, offer what's called zero liability protection, where they will not hold you liable for any of these things. So for all the times that we had a problem with any one of these cards, we just called up the issuer and they were able to take the charge off our statement. So basically, you can get impacted by fraudulent charges on pretty much any credit card out there, but still, it's very good to know that you are protected against this stuff. And again, that does not change the fact that it is very annoying to have to go ahead and call customer service, and everyone has different experiences with that. But aside from my one issue that Wells Fargo and Bilt were able to resolve, it has been completely fine and without problems ever since then. So overall, is the Bilt Mastercard insanely powerful or insanely overrated? Well, I'd say it's definitely not overrated because if you rent, then I truly think this is a great credit card to have because it's just bonus value that you can get back from your rent, which otherwise is just spending that goes to waste. But I wouldn't say this is insanely powerful either unless you're spending a ton on rent. So if you live in a high cost of living city or you live with roommates, roommates and then you pay for rent at your property and just have your roommates reimburse you for that, then yeah, maybe this card can be pretty powerful. But to me, it's really a card that's meant to complement a good travel credit card setup, which is why my fiance and I use it in our 2-player strategy, along with cards from other issuers out there like Chase, Amex, and Capital One. However, if you're into cash back, then the Bilt Mastercard here is probably worth skipping because the value of Bilt points that it earns is just a lot better for travel instead of cash back. But I think with all the features and benefits that it has, the Bilt Mastercard is still one of the best no annual fee credit cards that you can have in today's world, especially if you are a renter who's interested in travel. Now, if you want to pair the Bilt card with other travel credit cards to create the best credit card setup possible, then make sure you go ahead and check out this video over here on the screen next, where I talk about the best travel credit cards out there. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.